Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to Alpha Tauri. We're about very closely to finish our season. We only have 4 races remaining, and today the goal is going to be to complete all 4 of them and get basically this season done, so we can next time start out with a new season and a bit more of an interesting one. Because most likely we are going to be switching out both of our drivers next season for funerals ones. We do have the big regulation change, which should keep things a bit interesting. And let's be honest, we have already won the championship here. We have over 200, almost 300 points on Red Bull. For the driver championship, the second place haven't been decided yet, but we have one for sure. And same here, basically with the pit crew championship. So we basically, as I said, won everything. It's a tad boring, and we've generally done very well. So we're gonna focus on just powering through here until we get to the next season. And as I said, we'll be probably cutting out some more race footage. We'll be powering through all 4 races, and unless something interesting happens, something spectacular, we might just end up cutting out most of this. But I still hope that you'll enjoy. And with that said, let's jump right into it. We're gonna go ahead and get some research done. Currently we have 8 days, 4 days, and 3 days. And apparently I have forgotten about a slot. That's not great. Let's have a quick look at our current situation with the rules and regulations. As you can see, we're losing about 42.4%. This is not our total. This is 70% of our total, though, because the suspension is losing 70% of its expertise. And we have made up for about half of what we lose, as you can see. For the underfloor, made up basically about a third or so. Not too bad. For the side pods, we're really far behind. Basically made up less than a fifth. For the rear wing, not too good there either. We still have a little bit over a fourth. And for the front wing, basically the same situation. So we do have some work ahead of us. Chassis is the one that's worst. But in general, we will be trying to make the best car that we can using research before next season. And what we saw there, in terms of what we might want to go for here, is probably that I should do a front wing research. We kind of want to try and get everything up and going, because the way research works is that for research, the drop-in regulation that you've had from basically for the research expertise game, we've already lost 42.49% expertise in brake cooling. And the lower your expertise, the quicker it goes up. And this works the way for research too. But for the research, it has already happened. So any research you do to counter a regulation or so is going to be way more effective in terms of expertise gain than if you were to, say, do a design. So that is the reason why you really should focus on getting any regulations made up for with research. It's just the most efficient use of your cash, so to speak. And that's basically what we've been doing. But the regulation is hitting so hard that we haven't even come close to getting there, because it's 50% for one, and the suspension is 70%. And as you can see that, for the most part, we can only get maybe 1-2 of the parts up to about 50% per start new year, but we should still be incredibly dominating. So helipad level 5 refurbishment has been complete. That's just mainly a money thing. Rear wing research complete. After we saw those numbers, I'm very tempted here to just immediately go for another rear wing research. I think we will just get that in there. And the reason why I've been doing one engineer research is actually incredibly simple. Now, I do have more engineers available. I could put more engineers on these projects to get them done quicker, but the more engineers you have a problem, the quicker it gets solved, the more expertise you get daily. But it's also far more expensive, because you'll be having to do the projects more and more. So it's only worth it to put extra engineers on your research projects unless you have to, get them in before the end of the year in December. Or if you can maintain all of your slots filled for the entire year. If either of these are not true, I would recommend you to just stick with one engineer, because that'll be your best money to expertise ratio. One engineer, it takes a long time, but you'll end up getting a lot more expertise out of that money than if you rushed it. So Well, not a lot more, but generally a lot more, which again means that it is the most efficient use of your money in terms of gaining expertise. And if you have some problems then with the cost cap in particular, that would get finances, the cost cap. In this case, we have about 24 million left. Considering that we are basically 2.5 months left, 24 million might be a tad much, but it's just really one bad crash, and then you're kind of in a gray zone. So you can, of course, go more aggressive with the spending, but it does also put you in a bit of a vulnerable position for when that crash eventually does happen. You are going to be quite sad. Now, the underflow research has been completed. This has to be an one with CFD time, wind tunnel, as we gained about 7% across the board. Now, we could go for another underfloor here. Probably wouldn't be the worst idea ever. But I think we're going to get more paid long term by, say, doing either the chassis. Well, we're already doing a chassis. But doing the side pod here. Like, we've already put about 50% into these two. We've mitigated 50% of loss. So trying to get that done with the other pieces too might just be the thing that we'll be going for. So we'll do just that. Performance targets. Let's get those set up. Again, we have been pretty dominating, but we're still going to do a very basic IDSA performance. Both cars in Q1, Q2, Q3. And one car on the podium for the race. With that, let's jump into Mexico and see how we perform. We are ready for Mexico. And we're going to go with a very, very basic strategy of medium, hard, soft. It is probably one of my most used strategies. And it's also going to be most likely the quickest one. As you can see, a soft, hard, soft, a little bit less quick set because we have to do the softs on just aggressive rather than attack at the final stint. It's going to be about 3 seconds slower. And also by going the medium first, we'll be able to stretch that first stint a little bit. And hopefully get a gap to some of the other cars that will allow us to pit safely without losing too many positions or getting stuck a little bit too much in traffic. So that is why we're doing things like this. It should still be, the best strategy, I think, in our position where we already are running 1-2 off the quali. And that should make it probably, as I said, the best strategy that we have available to us.
This is it. Here we go with the Mexico City Grand Prix.
So we have a soft runner, there are a medium runner I think. I don't think I see any hards, I don't. There's some soft runners towards the back, but mainly just a bunch of medium runners. And we did get a decent start, although Sonoda did almost lose out a little bit to the Red Bull. Should be able to kind of hold on there and get that done. And I don't think that should be too much of an issue for either one of our cars. And as long as we can just pull away now from the rest of the pack, this race should be a foregone conclusion. Right now, Leclerc is kind of holding on, but the second we get, DRS, get a little bit more of a gap on lap 2 and forwards, where the AI starts slowing a little bit down, I don't think we'll have any problems just kind of riding off in the sunset, as we have already almost instated a gap to the DRS here. So now that we can DRS with each other, both our drivers that is, we should have a very, very safe margin here. That's only going to keep on growing. Bit of an incident there with Gasly, but at the same time, we have gotten to where we want to be. We're going to keep on pushing this first lap, and we'll see where we're at once we get to that first pit stop of ours. We're getting increasingly close to that first pit stop of ours, and we're actually going to go ahead and pit Lawson this lap. Now, as you can see, there is a DRS stream behind us with Leclerc, Russell, Sainz, and Ocon kind of running together. And safe pitting time here is about 22 seconds, so we could get overtaken off the pits with Lawson here. But his tires are already virtually gone, so no real reason to keep him out. For Tsunoda, we're probably going to do 3 more laps. But depending on where Lawson actually ends up coming out here, we can probably estimate where Tsunoda is going to be. And as you can see, Lawson actually comes out safely ahead of the Ferraris. Leclerc did pit though, which probably slowed them down a tad. But with that said, Tsunoda should have, unless we of course run into a pit issue, pretty straightforward and clear pit stop here, I would think. And even now, if we do pit him on this lap, which is what we will, he should still come out ahead of Lawson, is what I'm thinking. So, it's looking really, really good for our boys. Degradation for Lawson was slightly higher than anticipated, though. So do keep that in mind. Need to keep an eye on that and make sure that it doesn't become a issue. So Sonoda now comes out clear in front of Lawson there. Gap remains around the same as it was before. But I do want to deploy now with Lawson because we want to try and get away from both Russell and Sainz. We do not want to act as a tow. Now, the problem though is that we are going to be closing in on Sonoda himself, but Sonoda decided to yeet it into a wall. This does put a bit of a problem on the rest of the season. He did destroy 4 pieces of the car. We have minor gearbox and engine damage, but I'm pretty sure that this was his final engine and gearbox for that matter. So we might need to buy him new parts. And again, this is what I was talking about before this race, that just one incident can force you to spend a bunch of money. And this gives about 6 million, which is a quarter of our current cost cap remaining, which is about 24 million. So you can imagine that this is going to be a tad problematic, but we can handle it, honestly. It's not a huge issue. And it does give Lawson a chance here now to kind of instate himself as one of the championship, well, not championship, second place challengers here. He's going to have a bit of a bigger gap if he can win this race, is what I'm trying to say. I know I worded myself horrifically there, but yeah. Lawson, second in championship, going to have a much better chance now that Tsunoda is out, as he can get more points from this race and get a bit more of a gap to Russell, Sainz, Leclerc, potentially. But yeah, shame with Tsunoda. We'll have to see after this race, though, how severe the damage actually is. We've had a bit of an incident here with the crash involving multiple cars. And as you can see, it's the Alpine and the Alfa Romeo. And this could potentially be a bit of a safety car issue, but looks like it just passed over as it was. Now, Lawson is 13 seconds ahead of Sainz, but because they went on soft tires, they were actually gaining for a little bit. However, lately again, they have started falling down as the tires have started to give in. But at one point, they were gaining and were down to about 9 seconds behind us, so they did push for a little bit. But currently, we're just going to keep on staying as we are, and we'll see where we stand once we get to that final stint. Sainz and Russell should both have to pit before we do, so first place, unless of course we have incidents, should be safe in our hands. Yet another incident, this time between Leclerc and Ocon, I believe. A little bit of a weird one, that one, honestly. Shouldn't be anything serious, but considering that it's someone that is running close to us, kind of interesting to keep an eye on. We're getting ready to do our final pit stop. We still have a very healthy lead, and it should be smooth sailing as long as this pit stop goes well. And I don't think we're going to have any issues. Sainz is pretty far back, and he went onto the soft tires a bit earlier than we did. But we'll have pressure tires, we'll be able to push them harder, and generally, because of that, I don't think we'll have anything even, you know, looking like trouble here. So for now, let's speed along. Let's see where we're at once we get to the end of this race. A pretty dominating performance here from Lawson. 30 seconds he ended up being ahead of Sainz, and Sainz is, well, 4 seconds, 4 seconds ahead of his teammate, Jesus. And then 20 seconds ahead of Stroll. We lapped up to 10th, which is actually Sargent and Williams. And as you can see, Ferrari scored some points, Aston Martin scored points, McLaren up in 5th after the Norris mix of 14 points. Ocon in 6th, Leclerc in 7th, then we have Magnussen and Italian Jesus. So, a bit of an interesting top 10. Drivers here, Lawson gets a bit of a boost. Unfortunately, we didn't actually manage to snatch fastest lap somehow. It actually went to Sainz in Ferrari, so Lawson didn't have the best exit on the softs. But it is what it is. We still gain a decent chunk of points on 3rd and 4th place. Sainz is actually down in 6th, so this worked out better than we had planned. And we get an extra 10 points there for Lawson. Now, of course, the main concern here now is actually going to be the damage that was done to Tsunoda's car. That's going to be the big concern here. Financially, we aren't probably going to have any issues with that. It's just in terms of cost cap, it might turn into an issue. Apparently also, we got a lot of suspension manufacture, everything manufactured done there. We basically manufactured 4 different parts. Excuse me. Suspension, underfloor, side pods, and front wing. Now, the gearbox is in poor condition. That is one thing. But I'm more worried about the powertrain here. As you can see, we don't have engines. We have 3 races and a sprint to do. And the ERS might just about make it, but we are going to definitely have to buy another engine if we want to be anything close to, you know, competitive. So we'll install these on both cars just to make our lives a little bit easier towards the end here. We are going to go ahead and install the new front wings. We are going to make 2 more because the lifespan is just that short. The rear wing here, we will replace and install new ones. We'll also make 2 new ones as well to make sure that we have parts until the end. Side pods looking good. The underfloor is fine. And lastly, the suspension here. We want to manufacture just 1 more. And that should be hopefully all the manufacturing that we will have to do this season. And financially, that brings us closer to the end of the cost cap here. We still have about 22 million. We're going to use 5 of those on a new engine for sure. That brings us basically down to 17. And we are still going to do 1 more row of researchers. Let's say they cap out about 1 or a million or so each, 1.2 maybe. Let's just say that takes another 5 million off the cost cap. That gives us still 12 million to play with, which isn't that bad. But as you can see there, if Sonoda's crash it was any worse, where we had to, you know, rebuy the ERS as well, which we might have to, it is going to go damaged at one point. That could definitely have cost us if we had been running a very, very thin line. So it's something you need to keep in mind with running strategies like those. But yeah, we are definitely going to end up buying a new engine here for good old Sonoda. Now we're going to research the chassis once more. It's going to give us some decent boosts here. It takes 30 days, so it's fine for it to stop 20th of November. But we might swap around the order of research at one point. So honestly, we'll have to see how we do that. But we are going to do 1 more normal chassis. And then we'll see what we do after that. We might just say, wait an extra day, swap around the chassis and the sidepod research, something like that. I don't know. It's basically up in the open to try and get more out of the days, but we might just run the chassis all the way to the end too. It's not a bad thing. Okay, and we're ready to go to Brazil, Sao Paulo. Once again, I think we're just gonna, well, we're gonna go with fastest lap. We're gonna try and get both cars into Q3, and I'm gonna say that both cars are gonna get into Q3. It's basically just guaranteed money rather than taking a bit of a risk. 1 car, top 3. For the last 3 races here, shouldn't be an issue. Let's go to Brazil and get ready for the sprint itself. And as I said, we are going to end up buying a new engine here. For Brazil, we qualify 1-2. It's going to be an interesting race weekend though, because we have the sprint on Saturday, but we're going to have heavy rain for Sunday. So that means I don't think we're going to need to have to hold back here. We can go with a hard tire for Lawson and a medium tire for Sonoda. It says he will start 6th, which is due to the engine penalty that we took. We kind of had to. We did buy a new engine, but of course with the damage that we had last time out, we didn't really have much of a choice. So with that, we're just going to jump straight into the sprint. In theory, Lawson's strategy is quicker. If we put Lawson on this, he probably would not make it work because, well, he has less smoothness. Well, Sonoda is still going to be a tad of a gamble here. We might need to turn down to standard for a few laps after running attack for the first 2. And we'll see if we can make something out of this sprint. It would be ideal to start 1-2 on Saturday if possible. But looks like we're going to eat the penalty on Sunday, so it might just be a non-issue.
And away we go.
Alright, lights out, away we go. Both drivers do not have the best confidence here. It's on medium for both of them. So
Okay, clean laps now.
we do want to play it a little bit safe so we don't get immediately deleted by bad luck. Lawson here is falling down the grid, but that is kind of what you expect with hard tires. And apparently we've had a bit of an issue here involving Sargent and I would assume Piastri.
Right, so this was the 4th corner.
Does indeed look like it.
How tight it is.
And just a little bit of wheel to wheel there. Should be suspension damage, I think, for both of them. That could make things a little bit interesting, and maybe even get a safety car at one point if they get a little bit more damage. But for now, we got away great for Sonoda. Not as good for Lawson, but he's going to come back and back more and more the further into the race we get. And as you can see, Tsunoda is also kind of fighting Russell, so he isn't off scot-free either. And that is something important to keep in mind, because Tsunoda here is going to have to tune down the tire usage now. And we are going to have to try and, you know, make the most out of these tires. So we're probably going to run standard for a good 10-15 laps or so, if we stay ahead of the cars in front. And then we'll start doing more attack-oriented strategies, if you will. For now, though, we'll just speed things along, and we'll see where we're at once we get a little bit closer till the final few laps. As expected, we've had another crash. Don't think it's Lawson, sorry, not Lawson, Sargent this time. It's actually Magnussen. Is he going to hit his teammate, or is he going to hit the Alpine? Gets tagged by the Alpine, I guess. Both of them get sent to the nether dimension, which is a bit unfortunate. We are currently still pushing, though. We are trying to basically establish a gap to Verstappen. It's not really working. We didn't have enough energy to kind of pull it off. We still have a little bit more work to do in that department. But for Tsunoda now, we can definitely turn him up to aggressive. And that should help with getting, you know, pulling away from Verstappen. We do want Tsunoda to win this sprint if possible, because that will allow us to, you know, get a little bit off the penalty tomorrow in terms of losing positions, because we are going to be eating that penalty. But there's also a lot of other penalties in play. So potentially here, if we have Tsunoda win, he can still start second row, maybe even still first row, if the other cars around us gets punished hard enough. For now, though, we're kind of going to just keep things as it is. We are going to have to, at one point, start saving fuel. We did use a little bit too much. But, yeah, I think we can just leave it like this and then go for a push on the final lap or so. A little bit risky, but I feel like it's going to be okay this time around. We've had yet another incident in this sprint. This time it's Norris versus the, I would assume, other Mercedes. Once again, bit of wheel banging. One of the cars gets sent into the shadow realm, this time Ocon. So yeah, both Mercs in an incident, and as you can see, we have Lawson and Tsunoda up front now. Verstappen is still on us, but I'm pretty sure we can keep this going till the end of the race. It shouldn't be an issue. There we are, we're going through the last few corners. Tsunoda first, Lawson second, then we have Verstappen. Couldn't actually get rid of him this time around, which is a tad worrisome, but this is kind of the result here we wanted for the sprint, with a 1-2 from our drivers. Tsunoda ahead of Lawson. And again, the reason why we want Tsunoda first is very easily because of the fact that we have penalties on him. And as you can see, there's actually enough penalties around us here that I think Tsunoda is just going to start second. That's actually what's going to happen here. That is what I would assume, unless, of course, he actually has a 10th place. And then he's actually going to start 6th, but we'll see. We are here at race day. 6th place. Yeah, 10th place, good play, penalty. So, it's still not bad though. It's still not horrible. But the rain here does look like it's going to make this into an interesting race. So, we're going to have to go inter, wets, inters, and probably start on softs, I think is the play here. The rain is supposed to start pretty early here. Within lap 11, 12, I think we can get into inter territory. So, the strategy is going to be incredibly simple. We just start on the soft tire. We can actually just do it like this. Go with basic strategy like so. Soft tire. And we want to see how exactly long we can make that tire last. About 15 laps. That should be plenty here with the rain incoming. So we're just going to start on this. And then once we get closer to the rain itself and we have a little bit more information, we can make a educated guess then on what we want to do. Now, the driver confidence here being medium is a bit worrisome in terms of getting into incidents. But we do want to get Tsunoda within these first 10 laps before the rain starts up into second. That would actually be the best case scenario. Now, the car setup wasn't the best here, as is usually what happens during sprint weekends, but I'm not too worried about it. Let's see if we can get a decent start here. So everyone has gone on soft tires, except for the Ferrari. Ferrari strategy indeed. But the one we're interested in here is Tsunoda, for sure. Bit of wheel banging, bit of an incident behind us there. Gives us a bit of a gap to work with. Apparently Tsunoda was a part of it, but he didn't get a penalty, so that is good. that will have probably wrecked his
Now, this
confidence
was at
even
turn
more.
one. Now there's an inviting opportunity
What I
there.
assume happened is that Show actually touches
And the
Tsunoda,
impact
gets
on the
slowed
car,
down,
It's quite clear. Now they're
and then we
confident.
have the pile up behind him. So, bit of an interesting one, but yeah, the confidence just hit rock bottom. It's going to make it harder to overtake before the wet period, of course. But I'm still not concerned,
One click of
to
a
put it
pin
like
now.
that. I am wondering what sort of other damage we had for the cars behind.
That's it,
Looks
high.
like Verstappen's
Can you
wing survived, the front wing.
Copy that.
No real
No,
tire
it's
damage
15
here
laps.
for anyone really. Stroll and Magnussen, I assume, used old softs here. So while it looks bad, it probably wasn't bad at all. And it did give Tsunoda a little bit of breathing space, as I said. Another yellow flag, this time it's Behrman.
And yep, it's the Haas that's affected.
And considering we've had this incident even before we get into the wet, this could be a very, very eventful Brazilian GP. Once again, some wheel banging, it happens. But yeah, as I said, looks like we're going to have one interesting GP on our hands here. And the fact that we have Bottas here up in 5th is nothing short of a miracle. But that is what happens when we have a, you know, Brazilian penalties. We get both the Mercedes on the back line. It is kind of what you end up expecting at that point. But Tsunoda is already doing work. He's gotten past 2 cars, Bottas and Leclerc. And that should have helped his confidence. It's up back to medium now. Still has a bit of work to do in that department. But DRS-wise, it's looking good. As both Stroll and Norris have put themselves into what will be different DRS trains, I guess I could put it. It's going to make life a lot easier in getting the overtakes done. And also, because of the fact that we're going to have heavy rain, we're just going to push fuel as long as we can. There's no reason for us not to, as again, under the rainy conditions, you regain fuel a lot quicker than otherwise because you're not pushing as hard, you're not pulling, you just can't push as hard because if you do, you're just going to aquaplane and hit a wall. And as I said, not much you can do with that. Now, Tsunoda does get Norris there with the help of DRS, so we're definitely getting closer to what we were wishing for, but at the same time, it's also getting a bit problematic with a 2-stopper here. It could potentially be a double-edged sword. So let's have a quick look here on what we can expect from the rain. It still looks to be the same, although it's going to more aggressively go up on lap 11 or so. So we still have a couple of laps before this happens. It's going to slowly start raining now.
And some drop of rain.
But it shouldn't be an issue. We'll wait a few laps here and see if the rainwater starts to increase more dramatically. So we're in a bit of a pickle here. As you can see, in 1 minute, we have a 70%, well, it's always 100% chance really, but we have a chance of getting heavy rain. Now, that 1 minute includes, it's the current minute we're on, so at latest, in 16 seconds, we're going to start getting that first heavy rain spurt. The question is, are we going to take the chance of pitting a car slightly early, with a short pit lane in 21 seconds? Will the rain go up quick enough that we will not just immediately cook the inters? And I think the guess on that is it should be okay. So we're going to take Tsunoda. We are going to put him in on the inters. And honestly, we don't have to. That is the thing. You need to keep that in mind. We don't have to take this, aggressive move. Because we have basically 7 or 6 seconds down. And we're actually going to take advantage of that. We're just going to have them go for 1 more lap. It is going to go up more dramatically right now. But even with this speed, it's not going to be quick enough that pitting on this lap would be worth it, I think. And again, because of the gap that we had, we can actually delay a double stop until this lap. And that's what we're going to do. We're just going to double pit stop right now. Both cars in, both cars on inters. And again, the gap that we have down to Leclerc of over 10 seconds allows this to be possible. And as you can see, we actually get into the pits and out of the pits before any of the other cars overtake us, except for Norris, who stays out. So I think this was the best way we could have done this for sure. And we're just going to keep on pushing fuel still. We have a very heavy rain period coming up in, not a long time, just 15 or so laps, even less. So we're just going to keep on running full attack. We're going to keep on pushing fuel. And once the full heavy rain comes, we can actually tune down both cars a little bit in terms of fuel usage. And that should be better for us. Now, Tsunoda here is actually getting held up by Norris, and when this happens, driving clean air is usually a good choice. It basically just puts your car on an alternate racing line, and since Tsunoda is slow anyways, you can basically just slide past them. But as you can see, considering they double pitted, there should just be 3 seconds tops between these boys. Instead, it's 7.5 seconds now. Norris really did slow us down. We're also getting into increasingly hot territory, so we'll tune it down to aggressive and see if that helps. If you're overheating way, beyond on inters in particular, they're going to start degrading very, very quickly. We kind of don't want that. So we'll tune it down to standard. Even if this is an incredibly short stint, overheating at to that degree, it's going to be pretty bad for us. We'll still keep on pushing though, and we'll see what we do when we get onto, the proper wet tire. It is getting increasingly closer now to the proper wet tire. As you can see, a lot of cars have already pitted. We're going to do another double pit stop. And the reason why Tsunoda is up to the back of Lawson is not because Tsunoda is a speed demon, but rather because Lawson had a bit of an incident. He spun, lost about 6 seconds to Tsunoda, and, well, that does happen. But yeah, condition has changed to wet. We are going to jump in now, get wet tires on our car, which should make life, easier. We still have some cars just staying out on the inters, so potentially that might actually have been the best bet here. 5 cars braving the inters versus the rest on full wets. And I'm curious what the lap times are going to look like. Are we going to be able to reinstate the gap with Bottas and Sainz? And let's be honest, even if we can't, their tires are degrading at a pace where we are going to have to, deal with that at one point. Bottas, Magnussen do not want to play the game anymore. They do pit. Now, it's only Sainz, Ocon, and Piastri that's staying out on the inters. But as I said, we're going to tune down the fuel usage now. You should see this going up pretty quick. But if you paid attention, it basically got stuck at 1.8 once we got to this wet weather. So it's going to recover pretty quickly. But yeah, for now, for the next 10-15 laps, we're going to stay on the wets. And I'll be back once the changes back to inter territory. We are getting very close now to going back to the inters. It is falling rapidly, and we're just going to do another double stack. We're really running a pit crew just straight up ragged today with double stack after double stack, but that should honestly be okay. We will also see more of the AI probably start peeling into pits, Norris, Magnussen, and everyone did eventually switch to a wet tire. So the guys that stayed out longer than recommended did in fact change their minds after a while. Gasly still in wet, Leclerc still in wet, and we come out ahead of both of them. Tsunoda here, a bit slow out of the pits. It is what happens though. And honestly, we are going to just keep things going at this point. But as you can see, if we want to run attack, we are going to need another pit stop. But considering that we do already have a pit stop on the rest of the pack, we are just going to keep pushing. Although, we might need to tune them down to aggressive so we don't overcook the tires too much. We'll also be working on the fuel and getting the most that we can out of this race. We have gotten a virtual safety car here with a crash on track. The Reese crashes, we're pretty close to the end of the race. And it's not actually a problem for us. We have already done all of our pit stops. We are virtually safe here. And as you can see, we still have 20 seconds down to Russell, even with the pit stops that we have done. We are running the tires a tad hot, but honestly it's fine. And we have actually ended up saving up a little bit more fuel than we needed to. As you can see, water is going to go down now because of the virtual safety car. Basically prolonging the race a little bit. But honestly, at this point, it's not actually a problem. We're just about done, so to speak. So we'll speed things up to the end. There's no real chance of us losing this unless we have another incident like last time around in in Mexico. Just at the end of the race here, we have another virtual safety car. In this case, it's actually Sargent, who's had a bit of a tumble.
That'll be a costly crash as the car makes
and as you can see, he has touched the wall. Now, it's not actually, once again, not a concern or anything. We can just switch it to 16X here. Nothing really to change here. We are perfectly happy with the situation. 1-2. Lawson wins. Tsunoda second. We did mess up the fastest lap though. I kind of forgot about that until now. We did have a goal to get that one, but it's not actually a problem that we
That was a
didn't.
brilliant performance.
So it is what it is. It happens. 1-2. We can be happy with that. Lawson wins, which is good for him, and is fine for second. Tsunoda has already won, and his perfect season kind of got ruined. So again, not a big concern. Russell third, fourth for Alpine and Gasly, Leclerc, then Verstappen for Red Bull. Albon scores some points at McLaren, Aston Martin 8th with Stroll, Sainz down in 9th, and Italian Jesus, who has been quite reliable in at least scoring a point here and there, is once again in 10th. So looking good there for them. But yeah, Lawson here now has a pretty good lead with just 2 races to go. Should be basically safe unless we have some more incidents. In the Constructors, Alpine has now overtaken Mercedes, but Red Bull versus Ferrari has basically become a foregone conclusion, unfortunately, so no fun there. And there's really no other fights there that we can look forward to, unfortunately. The pit stop championship is still looking well, considering that we did 8 pit stops there and only had an issue with 1. I think we can be happy with how things went, and also consider the fact that we put a little bit extra stress on the pit crew by having basically just 3 double stacks during this race. I did allow the final pit stop to be a little bit more relaxed to not murder my crew, but even then, it is 3 triple stacks back to triple stacks, double stacks, 3 double stacks, not triple stacks. So that does put a bit of pressure on your crew for sure. Rear wing, front wing have been manufactured. The refurbishment of the race sim has been complete. Suspension has been manufactured as well. And I guess we do want to take a quick look at the facilities here. And honestly, we have nothing that we really need to upgrade or, worry about. The only thing would be potentially the factory. But even if we refurbish this, it's just going to be development speed. We don't lose project capacity. So right now, that is not a concern. Staff facilities looking good. We do have the boardroom in poor condition, but the board loves me, so I'm pretty sure I could put them in a garbage dump at this point, and they wouldn't really care. Now, we have the final ATR period starting, and we're probably going to put that into either rear or front wing, I think. A little bit unsure which one just now, but we'll have a look at that once we get a little bit closer to it. Car part inspection results, everything has passed, which should make things very easy here for going into our next race. And we're just going to deny the board attendance at Grand Prix. It does give you more confidence for a successful result, which we are likely to have, but because we're already basically beloved by the entire board, there's no reason for us to get it any higher, because I'm pretty sure it can't go any higher. However, if we lose confidence from a, this point result, that would be a different matter, so we don't need it. We're just going to deny it, play it safe. And again, there's no reason to take risks unless you kind of have to. Contreras has low morale. Honestly, not an issue. We're going to promote her next year anyways. Maybe she doesn't know yet. Honestly, she doesn't know. We haven't thought, given any sort of influx to give her that idea. So I can understand low morale, seeing how well these boys perform. 2 points of overtaking, 1 for defending for Lawson, for Tsunoda, smoothness, and adaptability. Lawson and Tsunoda might be a little bit dangerous to deal with next season. For Contreras, a point in accuracy, 2 points of adaptability. Everything's just going into adaptability at this point. Got a point of braking though, so not all bad, but yeah. We'll have to see if we can actually make something out of it next year with the new driver lineup. So, McLaren. Not every car part can perform as well as we might hope. I don't think I've seen this one before. Apparently sideboard has some flaws, I guess. Bit weird. Objectives finished with a strong vehicle championship position. I think they have that, don't they? Well, 6 isn't really... I guess it's strong in some way, but still, it's not great. But you kind of have to take what you can at that point. Now, because we only have 2 races this month, we basically just have 2 races to go. We are just gonna train a little bit on the basics. So we're just gonna allow things to stay as they are, because our pit crew is already maxed. There's nothing really for us to gain here, no matter what we do. So just keep it as it is, put in a little bit of work if we can, and that should be perfectly alright. Perone here, processes, aptitude is going up. These are again what we want to focus on. So it's looking nice. For now though, we are going to speed along until we can get to the US of A. And we should get through this race again pretty painlessly. It is Las Vegas, though. It can be very, very painful in terms of overtaking and getting held up with traffic. So we might this time just bite the bullet and realize that what I should have been doing is just going for one stops here. I've been doing a lot of two stops. Hasn't really been working for me in any save, but I still do them because they're theoretically quicker. I underestimate how bad the traffic is going to hold us up, and doing a one stop here that's going to lose us probably 10-15 seconds might very well be quicker than any of the, you know, 2-3 stop strategies. So we'll see what we actually end up with here, but let's head to Las Vegas and see what we can do. Not the best quality we've ever had in Las Vegas, but on the plus side, we do have, we're still going to be front row, because Leclerc and Verstappen both have penalties, Sainz still has penalties, so we'll still be front row, no real problems. And in terms of strategy, as I said, I do want to try a one-stopper, mainly because we do get into a lot of trouble whenever we, you know, pull two-stoppers. So doing a one-stopper here is potentially going to be the better idea. Although we could try and again do a two-stopper, mainly for Tsunoda, because he has two sets of mediums that are hard. So we could differentiate the strategies a little bit, try and see if we can actually, you know, get through. In this case, we'd be running something like this, although let's face it, at this point, probably could just slap in a soft stint there and still be fine. Maybe not. Maybe we're gonna need that medium stint anyways. But yeah, we can do something like this for Tsunoda. Just put him a little bit different one. I do want to still try and make the one-stop work, but it's going to cost us a little bit here in terms of, you know, reliability. We are going to have to run attack. This is based on running standard. So Lawson here is going to struggle a little bit as we go through. But once we get DRS, if he can cling to Tsunoda for a bit, he's going to be fine. But yeah, I do want to try out this strategy. So let's go to the race itself, see what we can pull off.
The city of Las Vegas.
And
the atmosphere is electric here.
I think it shouldn't be a problem. So we have a Ferrari behind us, we have an Alpine behind us, then a McLaren, then a Red Bull.
And away we go.
So we do have a couple of concerning cars around us, but in general here, shouldn't be a problem. We retain our 1-2 from into the first corner. And that should keep things somewhat stellar here for us. Now, Russell has chosen to go on soft tyres, so it's Bim and Piastri, Bottas, Sargent, and De Vries. The rest are here on medium. So I don't think we'll be seeing any huge changes, particularly early on. But as long as we can retain, as I said, with Lawson and Tsunoda, that should be most of the work done. And we can probably already turn Lawson down to aggressive. He is basically running inside of Tsunoda, so no reason not to do that. And we are pulling away from Russell, who is, remember, on the soft tyre. He should actually be quicker than us, just in terms of what tyres are being used. So this is promising. If we can keep the gain up, gain a second on it before we get into the first lap, and more particularly the DRS zones for the first lap, it would be looking good. But we do also need to keep in mind that we do need to keep Lawson's tyres alive for, you know, the entirety of this race. And that is going to be a bit of a challenge here, I think. For now, though, the gap has been formed. And we'll see if we can keep this up until we get to that first pit stop. And already we haven't. So, honestly, it's fine. We can try and push at a later point. But I think it's more important that we keep Lawson with us than getting rid of Russell with this strategy. We've had a bit of an incident here from Tsunoda. The front wing, major damage, minor damage to the chassis, crash involving multiple cars. I'm hoping that he hit the... no, it's actually Lawson that caused damage to him. That's a bit of a problem. So, lockup from Lawson. Takes out his teammate. Russell was running with us. Lawson is still third though. Tsunoda eats the penalty. But he is going to have to pit now, and that penalty, for one, is going to keep things, you know, a little bit not in a good spot. Lawson, however, I think only took minor chassis damage, but he also took rear wing damage. How did he pull that off?
Stand by.
We're going to have to see just how much slower it is, because rear wing damage is actually dreadful in this game. If that happens, we could lose a lot of time, just based on the fact that we don't have a functional rear wing.
I'm an idiot.
Apparently Tsunoda looked up as well at some point.
I know it's difficult,
but yeah.
but keep focus, Yuki.
Confidence, though, still not too shabby. But Tsunoda's going to fall all the way to the back of the grid here. Now, if he didn't have that penalty, he might have gone out a little bit, quicker. But as you can see, he's down in 18th, behind De Vries. This is going to be a bit of a struggle here. And that last lap, 46, but it was the lap where we took the hit. I'm wondering what we're going to be looking at for this lap. If we're still 2-3 seconds slower than the rest of the field, we might just, hit the bailout. But it looks like we're still kind of okay. But damage is not going to do us any favors. It's going to be a bit of a struggle and a fight for sure. Now, Tsunoda is still running kind of behind the Reese, but probably going to just have to give him DRS, micromanage him a little bit here to get him, ahead. We need to close these gaps as quickly as possible if we want to jump people who are going to be pitting, which is going to be kind of vital for Tsunoda, because if he doesn't, he is going to be, having to fight more cars on fresher tires, and that's just going to be painful, like Gasly, who has now pitted. No chance, I think, that we're getting Russell. We just lost too much time from the penalty, but also the wing change. So the best we can probably hope for is maybe Sainz, but even that is a huge gamble. Lawson now, though, is falling down, running in fourth, running, slower than everyone else, but that is the cost you pay when you are running a one-stop strategy like we are. So we'll just have to bite the sour apple and live with it. For Tsunoda now, he has actually caught up to the pack here. We are going to put him on high overtake aggression. And we are just going to allow him to go to town and try to take the risks that he might need to in order to get by the cars in front. And for show here now, he is in no longer in DRS, the car in front, which should give Tsunoda an easy overtake. We are going to have to harvest a little bit, though, while we run up to the back of Gasly and Stroll. And as I said here, when we pit, it's going to be kind of vital here. But because of the incidents that we've had, we have been out of it. Lawson is still running second, though, but he's going to be falling down pretty badly once he does finally end up pitting. So we'll work out the best that we can here, but as I said, not looking too promising. Gonna run one more lap on aggressive, and we'll be pitting him at the end of this lap for his only pit stop onto the hard tire. For Tsunoda, once again, just gonna go with a bit of deploy here, see if we can edge past this DRS train. And it is a bit troublesome, but we've got at least one car. Can we get more in the next few corners? Probably not. Lawson here actually comes out behind Tsunoda, but ahead of Stroll, so it's not all bad in the world. But still, it's gonna take some effort to get this car now to the end. We still have the amateur rear wing to chassis, it's gonna slow us down. And for Tsunoda here, it's still not looking good, I'll be honest. The DRS train here is slowing us down tremendously. And as the Ocon, still on old mediums. We have now Verstappen on hards, Russell, Sainz, and the fact that they're ahead of us is going to be problematic, to say the least. So we'll try and make the best out of it, but we are going to have a hard time doing so, I think. We are going to be pitting Tsunoda now for his final pit stop. We're a little bit late, but we have been fighting with Verstappen. I was hoping that we could create a gap. Focus a little bit too much on that. Lawson is still kind of in limbo here. He is falling backwards quite aggressively. Like, he's been overtaken by Albon, he's been overtaken by Stroll, he's now getting overtaken by Leclerc. So you can see that the rear wing has had quite a substantial impact. And Tsunoda here comes out behind all of these cars and now has a huge mountain to climb in order to get back into a point scoring position with this. It's going to be very, very difficult, don't get me wrong. But we're going to just have to push the best that we can, use deploy. But the DRS train here is going to be a incredible pain in the neck to deal with. And as you can see, Lawson still hasn't gotten any confidence back. And that too is kind of slowing him down. But we'll try our best here and see if we can maybe make our way back up somehow in this, DRS train of ours. It's going to be a painful process for sure. We are currently in the last lap of the race. Currently in the last lap of the race, running in 4th. We have Lawson down in 11th. So yeah, strategy-wise, didn't really work out. But honestly, that is due to, I'd dare say, the damage to the car that made this happen. We also had damage to the gearbox here. And, well, Lawson generally just hasn't been able to make anything out of it.
Check your
For
flag.
Sonoda, it could potentially have caught up and gone back into first, but getting caught out in that DRS train, that huge DRS train didn't do us any favors. And that is kind of what's going to happen on this track. DRS zones are just so close, like having a DRS train going, it's going to be this that is, you know, the most common thing to happen here. But we still get some points here for Sonoda, so it's not all bad, but again, not great. Lawson, though, is still safe, honestly. The only way he loses second place is if Russell gets 25 points from winning. And if... no, that's not actually enough. Yeah, Lawson's place here is secure. He has... is it? Am I... It's 20... Yeah, it's 33... No, 34 points advantage. I'm just... My math skills just abandoned me there for a second. But yeah. Not the best thing. We also do lose the finish position streak because we said podium or better. But when our cars take each other out, I'm just happy that we score points. But of course, it is kind of painful. It is what it is. We have destroyed both chassis. We destroyed rear wing. We've destroyed an underfloor. We are not going to go ahead and, you know, fix it. Because, or rather, remanufacture those because we just have one race remaining. It was a shame the team performed below expectation as this has reduced our confidence in your leadership. Okay. Your confidence is still high, though. So, I understand you're disappointed, but let's be honest here. Those races happen. We can't win every race, unfortunately. Just look at Red Bull at Singapore. But yeah. Team up refurbishment complete. We are going to jump into the final race of the season here. Abu Dhabi. Should be pretty straightforward and alright, honestly. And as I said, worst case scenario, we'll just have to emergency manufacture a chassis, which is going to be expensive. And hopefully we can avoid it. Gonna go for fastest lap. Gonna go for both cars in Q2. And basically, again, we're just going to switch this into both cars into Q3, which is basically what this one is. So with that in mind, let's jump into Abu Dhabi and see if we can have a good end to our season. Alright, we're ready for the final race. We're starting first and third. The Red Bull squeeze in between. We do run with the minor damage gearbox though. We don't have a choice. It's the highest wear and tear, if you will, gearbox that we have. Now, for Lawson, the strategy here is probably going to be a pretty aggressive free stopper. Where we do, you know, 2 sets of softs towards the end. It's basically what we're going to have to do if we want to try and pull this off. And this should be okay, honestly. That is fine. We might do something different for Tsunoda on the virtue of the fact that he has actually a set of mediums. So that does open up some potential options for us that could make our lives a bit easier, so to speak. And I think this is what we're going to go with for Tsunoda. It's going to be a 125.12 versus a 125.10. So potentially here we might change our tune after we do the hard stint. Do 2 softs for him too. Because both drivers do have 2 sets of fresh softs available to them. Lawson even has 3. So if you want to change our minds, you know, during the race we can. And again, we're just going to go full attack on the first 2 stints. Basically identical. And then we will make up our mind on what we want to do.
Hold on tight.
So pretty straightforward. Now here we should have a better chance of getting away from the Red Bull, which is what we will intend to do.
Lights out, and away we go.
And of course do our best to do for that matter.
Overtake button.
And we do also want to rail defend low. Get everything set up here. Lawson did lose out to Norris, which can happen. But I think Lawson is going to come back at him, so no real big concern there. And I think we already have settled into stability for our drivers, first and third. Now, Verstappen has actually opted for a hard tyre, the only one. Leclerc has opted for a soft tyre, the only one. Everyone else is on the medium. So that should make it a little bit easier to potentially pull away from Verstappen. But as you can see, Lawson is falling backwards right now. And that isn't really, you know, promising for the hopes that we can actually get away from Verstappen. It's potentially going to be a tad difficult. But I think that as soon as he starts to slow down a little bit due to, well, the hard tyre for the main part, we are going to be able to create that gap. Like Tsunoda has just done. Lawson is just going to fly by as well. He too will try and instate a gap. And for now, we're just going to push everything we have and get away. And that's exactly what we've done. We are 1.5 seconds ahead. They can just run together now, go a little bit back and forth. Hopefully not take each other out this time around. But as long as we get the gap going to the rest of the pack, it's going to be looking good here. We're getting very close to the first pit stop here. Lawson is actually going to have to pit right now, because otherwise he will be running into below 30% territory. Also note here, we can actually stretch him a little bit to make this two-stopper a bit more viable. And that is quite the interesting thing here, because if he can run 2 or 3 more laps on these mediums, then the two-stopper is definitely going to be incredibly viable for him. And that's going to make our lives a lot easier. Now Lawson here should be coming out ahead of Geo. And he does, so 4 cars ahead, and one of them is going to be pitting fairly soon. The other two, unfortunately, the DRS train that is going to be getting to first are not. So it's going to have a little bit of a tough time there getting by them, but as I said, Posunoda here now, we're going to be aiming at pushing for 2 more laps on these tires. So next lap, we'll be putting him on the hard tire. So he'll do this, then 1 more, then he will pit. And that should put him in, you know, the danger zone for the tire. It's going to go below 30% towards the end of the next lap, but it's going to be all right. Also for us, apparently we've had a car pit, one that I did not expect, Russell for that matter, and he's actually gone out of the way here, meaning that Lawson now just has Norris, and with that a DRS zone with a little bit of energy usage should be more than enough to just fly by him. And that's exactly what we're seeing happening here. So Sonoda now should be pitting this lap. Loses a little bit more time than I expected here, but should still have a decent gap to potentially get out here. Squeeze in between Norris? Nah, just not enough, but it's still more than acceptable, that pit stop. And he will actually get Norris immediately on the DRS. We've had the Red Bull of Leclerc pit. It's only Verstappen ahead. And again, once we power charge past him, it should be a foregone conclusion. So for now, we'll keep on going until the next pit stop arrives. We've had our first incident, which led to a virtual safety car. Russell is out. We have cars pitting. And I assume we're going to see a lot of cars pitting right now.
Russell's involved.
Lucky there, really, that it didn't actually take out his teammate. But yeah, this should lead to a bunch of pit stops. And we are seeing that. Honestly, though, it's not a big deal for us. It's a shame that we do not get to do, you know, a virtual safety car pit stop ourselves. But in terms of time lost or gain from this, it's 7 seconds, which is not nothing. But at the same time, we do have already a 15-second margin down to Leclerc. So it's not a big deal for us, honestly. We are once again getting closer to the pit stops. For Lawson, we have gone pretty far into this one. I think we'll just switch him over to kind of running the same strategy as Tsunoda does, because at this stage, we don't really have to do anything else. We saved a little bit of tire during the virtual safety car. We're going to stretch these tires, just put him back onto a two-stopper. It is honestly the most viable strategy, and it would be silly to just not do that. He is also in a position where he can get a little bit threatened, but as I just realized, he doesn't actually have 2 sets of mediums, so that is why we did it differently. So, shame on me. I forgot. We should have pit him earlier. We did lose a little bit of time here as a result. For Tsunoda, we are just going to do this right now. Next lap hitting, and that should be fine. He does have the gap. Lawson is going to come out behind Leclerc, but with a fresh set of softs, he should have no problem just kind of flying by him here. First chance he gets, and it could actually be on the pit straight here. No. Gonna wait until that first DRS zone to make a move, I assume. Not really. I'll give you energy. Do it. Make me proud. But yeah, Tsunoda does now pitch for his final pit stop, and as you can see, pretty safely out ahead. We'll be speeding along here towards the end, and honestly, unless we have something interesting happen, we might just end up skipping Lawson's final pit stop, because he should be safe, I would assume. As expected, we did pull off a 1-2. As you can see, Lawson had a decent gap down to Verstappen, so nothing really of interest happened. It is what it is, though. Red Bull, 3rd and 4th, then we have Sainz, then the 2 Alpines, then 2 McLarens, then Stroll. Driver Championship then, Liam Lawson secures his second, although it was already secure. No changes in top 10, no changes in the bottom 21 in this case. Rick here ends up being 13th, interestingly enough. So considering that he just ran a few races, that's still pretty strong. We have Alpine in 4th, Mercedes 5th, Aston Martin 6th, Red Bull and Ferrari up here, McLaren, Williams, then Alfa Romeo and Haas. Nothing really too surprising. We do also secure the Pit Stop Championship again. So yeah, pretty good season, honestly. And as I said, the next season is the one that's going to be quite interesting. And car part inspection, we don't care. We don't need these parts anymore. Mini was the F2 championship. Novalak second, Mini third. The championship results here, Tsunoda wins. We win the title. My phone is not muted. Sorry for that. And that should be it, really. Now, next things up are, of course, going to be finishing out the research and getting everything ready for the next season. So, in terms of what we want to research, honestly, I could just do another underfloor here. It's still going to give us a decent boost. The chassis would too. But honestly, I think we'll just do underfloor here because it will give us more, basically, time. We can put in a engineer here and get a little bit more done. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And we can focus chassis a little bit more next year. The side pods here are also done. As you can see, the chassis research just below 2%. Side pods here, a little bit over 2%. And apparently Warner has sent us some remarks. Want to offer my congratulations, blew us out of the water a little bit. Can't deny that. Call a lucky break though. Let's see if you can do that luck again next time. But yeah, again, I do like these messages. They are nice. So with that said, let's get the second research going here. It's just going to be the side pods again. We're just going to do the pieces that we have kind of neglected throughout the year. And as I said, we are going to be promoting a couple new drivers. Front wing has been completed. And we'll go ahead and get that researched. Just do another one. Nothing too special, really. 5 engineers. And that does put us in a position where the rear wing here, I don't think we're going to have time for it, honestly. This might be the final rear wing research we're going to do. Front wing here, again, was just a little bit of a 1.5%. Rear wing, basically around 2%. But as I said, I don't think we'll have time for a rear wing because we do not have enough engineers to make this work. Oh, we do? Do we? Apparently we do, so it's fine. Just about enough engineers to make that work because we upgraded the design center, so we have 15 available. Okay, that is good. That is very good. But yeah, new month should be taking over. We should have some interesting news. Suspension sim concerns. Let's just approve this, get it fixed. We're not using it right now. It's better to have it up and running for next season anyways. And soft changes, we have none of those. Driver changes, technically, we're going to have a few of those. We have an upcoming board review. We are getting very close to the cost cap, but let's face it, this is 11 million is more than enough that we don't need to really concern ourselves. Pointing, cornering for Tsunoda, smoothness, overtaking, and defending for Lawson, and for Contreras. A couple points in cornering, a couple points in accuracy, we'll take that. It's not too shabby. And as I said here, we're gonna put together a little bit of an interesting team for next season. So let's just get the training schedule done first, though. And honestly, the only thing I really care about is that they are going to be well rested into the new year. As long as they're well rested into the new year, that means we can push them hard from the get-go, which is what we're going to need, because the only thing we really care about is getting a good start. We already have everything maxed here, so it doesn't really matter how we do things. The chance of mistake you're seeing here going down is due to them being well rested, because right now they are exhausted, and as you can see, as the exhaust state is going to, fall away, first into weary, then into tired, you can see that those percentages keep on going up. So it's not actually from us gaining any skills, it's just from the pit crew actually having a little bit of rest. As I said though, we are going to want to, promote some of our drivers. So we're going to go ahead and do that right away. We're going to renew this contract for Car 1 for the next 2 seasons, I guess. I guess we'll pay you 2 million. I think that should be good enough, I would hope. And I'll also give you a 200k signing bonus. Now, this is going to cost a little bit of money because we're going to be breaking contracts, but that's fine. It is going to be very interesting to see who picks up Lawson, who picks up Tsunoda. But let's go ahead and do this. How do you feel about this promotion of yours. Apparently I paid you way too much. So let's go ahead and do this. We are going to break a contract. Contreras now has been put into car 1. Well, I did immediately, didn't I? Maybe. We'll see. I do need to get, you know, another driver for the other seat. So we're going to go ahead and start looking. Sano here. Can't race an F1, unfortunately. Lauren here could be an option, but 54, it's going to be a little bit too bad. Same with 51, 52. We'll have a look here and see what we can find. I'm actually scrolling by pictures on the right, just to be on the safe side that I don't miss anyone. Leah Taylor, 60. Cannot race an F1. Contreras, we already have her. Can't nab a copy, unfortunately. Minna Nyman could potentially be a reserve, I guess. We'll have to see. Is open to negotiation. See here who we can find. Blush, I guess she's not actually interested, okay. Has announced their retirement? Excuse me? Okay, so we need to pick up early in the season, I guess. That's a bit of a shame. Honestly. I guess our best option then is actually going to be to pick up Minna Nyman. Well, not that really. It's going to be our only option. So you are going to be running in car 2. Start date next season. Okay, so it starts next season anyways. That's fine then. We're going to give you just 2 million. And judging by just how much time people, well, we're going to be losing just from driver stats, this is going to be an interesting season where we might be, you know, fired. So I have a backup save if it goes horribly, horribly wrong. But hopefully it will not be needed. Okay, there we go. Contract accepted. Now, we are going to pick up a reserve as well, but I don't actually know if we have any options for that. That's the thing. Because if I remember correctly, none of the others that we found can race in F1. Nope, we have one here. Good. You are going to be reserved. Give you a 2-season contract. I'll be paying you $500,000, same as the other reserve, and you'll get 50,000 as a sign-on bonus. So hopefully that'll be acceptable. There we are. Higher. So we have now our new drivers. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Flush. Apparently, I did immediately sign Contreras. That's an interesting one. And am I going to be in trouble here because I signed the reserve for next season? Potentially. We'll see. I might just have soft lock to save. I did. I did. Let's just find any free agent here that is available and willing to sign. So I'm wondering how it says next season, but I think we might just have soft locked to save it because of what we did, and we kind of have. Okay, that's a bit of a problem. I'm gonna have to go back and fix that, but I think we'll do that next time. We'll choose the final month of this season, the driver changes, because now we have figured out that if we do that, it soft locks. I need to actually promote her at the start of next season. I think that is how we're gonna have to play this. We can try and just put in a new reserve here to see if that fixes the problem, but it did say that it, you know, changes it, and you do get next season here as your only option. So it's gonna cost some money to break the current contract. Let's see how you feel about this. Probably gonna need a lot more money. Oh, I even put you on car 1. That might be why. Is this better? Are you willing to take a smaller paycheck for this? No. Okay. I'll just give you 2 million to see if we can actually fix this. Because what happened is Contreras moved immediately. And that caused a bit of problem. Let's see. Are you going to be taking on the seat? You are the current reserve.
December 26th. Okay. Worst case scenario, we'll just have to keep him. But that is a bit of a weird one. Unless I made a incredible boo-boo here. Yeah, we're gonna have to see if we can... We're gonna fix that next season, honestly. The reserve is not gonna be a big issue for us. So we're just gonna have to live with that. But yeah, we tried to hire 3 female drivers. The game said no, not allowed. And we'll try and see if we can get River back some other time, contract-wise. Not actually interested. I think she's in contract limbo now. So we'll see what happens at the start of next season. For now, though, the suspension sim, no signs of damage. Murphy has low morale. James Val sends us, you know, Simon looked upon to drive your team. Can understand why. They're having a difficult season. Let's shock you posted me to immediate contract. Okay. Welcome and looked upon. There we are. Let's get going. And yeah, we're just going to finish this season, get everything set up for the next one. Facility upgrade complete. Our design center is now level 5. Again, going to be great if we get the design event at the start of next season. Would be perfect. Suspension sim, also upgrade to level 5. We should now be kind of maximized in our facilities. ATR period is ending. I think I forgot to use it. I did. I actually forgot to use the ATR period. Oh, I'm an absolute donut. But yeah, I have been a little bit stressed making this because it's taking me longer than I expected. So it's going to be really, really late before I get this out. But yeah, sidepod research complete. Science center has been upgraded. We can now have 20 engineers. 5% boost here. The suspension sim. Jumps brake cooling up to 10%. Airflow front, drag reduction 5%. And again, this is just for suspension, but it's still a sizable boost. Let's go ahead and sponsor this on show. Research completed. The front wing. EHL. Fastest Bishop Award should be going to us, I'm pretty sure. Everything is good there. The rear wing research complete. Gabriel Contreras, 0 points. Sonoda first. We win. Team rating has been upgraded to 5 stars. And I'm looking forward to seeing how we can do next year. Because again, regulation changes are going to hit us hard. We did get the rear wing in here, but as you realized, I have forgotten to use this final ATR period. And we can just have a look at what we would have gained if I had remembered. So basically lost about 8. Nah, not even that, about 5% maybe. But still, it would have been nice to have it. It would have been nice gains to have. And I can't blame anyone but myself for forgetting, honestly. But still, it's because I was a bit flustered here at the end. It happens. Mistakes happen, you know, in any game. Depends on how you handle them. But in this case, we're just going to let it go. We did also have a bit of a driver kerfuffle, but Contreras and Minna Nyman is going to be our drivers next season. Hopefully we can still pull something off. And I'm looking forward to seeing how we do with Luc Dupont. Apparently his contract renewed status. So yeah, going to be very interesting. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. And I hope to see you all next time. If you haven't liked the series so far, like and subscribe. Almost forgot that. Bye bye.